puts it that way. Why are we doing the math on this? Generic intro in the Duck Goes Moo. We're back with another Bumble McFumbles video. Today we're doing which TF2 mercenary would make the best boyfriend, which is certainly a question I have asked myself every single night as I've gone to sleep for the last couple years. You check my reaction to one of the last Bumble McFumbles videos, which was which TF2 mercenary is the biggest war criminal. I'll leave it right up there. Also link down below in the description. Also on a playlist on my channel with all of my other Team Fortress 2 reactions going in chronological order. I think I did that. I think I also did a couple of punch out videos by Bumble McFumbles. I'm glad to see that he is over 100,000 subscribers by now, which is a huge milestone. I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers before my birthday in July. Right now we just hit 87,000 subscribers, which is a crazy number. So thank you so much to all the people that are here. Shout out to the patrons because they get the videos a day early. A lot of time on Paywall channel. I'm completely against paywalls because I'm here to make you smile, not make you pay. I read all your comments, whether you're a patron or not, whether you're subscribed or not, but I hope that you are subscribed so you don't miss future videos. And like I said, I read every single one of your comments and respond to a lot of them as well. So I don't know if this is like supposed to be related to Valentine's Day or what. I don't know who asked this question. I don't know what logic he's going to use, but Bumble McFumbles always makes really enjoyable stuff. And thank you so much for the support you've shown on the other Bumbles McFumbles videos and all the people that let me know that he uploaded this video. So let's go ahead and jump into which TF2 mercenary will make the best boyfriend. All right. Now this is an important question. If I had to guess, engineer maybe? I don't know. I don't know.
Fortress. Are you getting nervous I haven't said 2 yet? One of the most famous games, not just in Valve's library, but in all of video games.
Literally.
Games released as far back as TF2 rarely get a fraction of the support it gets today, with
the community
player numbers
is
reaching their peak within the last year.
Yep.
That's despite Valve really not treating it that way. Guess what, Joe?
Yeah, we hear it.
Depressingly well.
We're working to
I've
improve
said it
things.
Before,
are you?
If you have a game that plays like Team Fortress 2, you've got a pretty
They
popular
have such
game.
a solid
But
community.
if you have a game that plays like this,
But it seems like anything they do
characters
probably
like
won't
that,
like.
You've got a cultural landmark. TF2 no doubt owes its longevity to its character.
Are they better off doing
In
nothing?
a time
I don't
where
know.
shooter characters weren't really allowed to talk.
I hope.
The
I really want the game to be
personalities
fixed,
of the
but
9
maybe they're
mercenaries
afraid
were
that
a
if they
breath
do
of
changes
fresh
and it's
air.
not
There
good
was
enough, the
only
people,
just
like the
released
community, will
a
be
feature-length
hurt.
horror film starring these guys, and then 2 minutes later, we're back in the conga line. I've been stuck in this thing for
Yeah, I reacted to
7
Mrs.
years.
Blue.
Help me! People are really attached to these
I know
characters.
HoovyTube did another one.
So let's get even more attached.
Oh?
Which TF2 merc would make the best boyfriend?
I don't.
But
maybe
Jack,
it could be Spy.
Isn't talking about dating all these dudes kinda gay? Well, let me ask you this one, Buster. Where's that kinda coming from?
The kinda. Ooh. What? What? What?
So,
What was that transition?
How do you determine which of these guys is gonna make the best boyfriend?
Well, we don't even know if
or
Pyro's human,
husband,
apparently.
Or eventual widow. Well, the system for figuring this out is pretty simple. Thankfully, the most we're going to need to do when
hopefully
tackling
none of the
gameplay
songs
is
are
look for
copywritten.
voice lines where the most personality comes out.
We're doing it off voice
Thank
lines.
God! Supplementary material is where large amounts of
Yeah,
the
I
merc's
reacted to
personalities are filled in, so across source
It's a
filmmaker
bucket.
shorts, comics, and other promotional material, we'll be able to gather the information we need to declare hot or not. There are some
Lord.
pieces of information we'll need
But then there's
to
robots.
disregard, however. For instance, man versus machine implies that every class is a multi-billionaire due to being free to collect the money that Gray Man's robots run on.
Oh, really?
That's not gonna be how this works. Every
No.
merc is around the income level you'd expect. Someone like Spy is incredibly well off.
Is he?
Someone like Soldier is incredibly well off. Now,
yeah.
there is an element of subjectivity to all
Also,
this.
the gun is very
rules of
expensive.
love
Literally,
are
like the
not
first
as
line, which
hard and
started
fast
all
as
this
they
with
are
TF2.
war crimes, though. I mean, there's probably some
With someone
crossover,
referencing
no napalm,
heavy.
no shooting at the medic, pay on the first date. What one person finds attractive, another might find repulsive. Some people like big muscles, other people like them skinny. Some people like arson, other people don't. You do you.
Really?
Just do it behind bulletproof glass if that's okay. With the admin out of the way,
Fair.
it's time to solve once and for all which one of these guys is gonna make the best boyfriend. First up is, of course, Scout. And we're starting in a good place, since we have an entire SFM animation dedicated to this exact subject.
I mean, he did
And
take
in
lessons
terms
from
of
Spy,
love,
but Spy did teach him.
Scout's hopeless. The whole thing is about Scout wanting to go on a date with Miss Pauling, and when he gets the chance to ask her out, he just dies on the spot. It takes a 3-day-long training montage and the fear of death for him to work up the courage to fail even worse this time. Scout has no game whatsoever.
Negative game.
He's able to pick up this demogorg of an SFM model off the basis of them both having buckets of fried chicken. But
wow, that's
if that would work on you, you have way more to evaluate than you realize. But that's just an expiration date, just a small vertical slice of Scout's life. Unfortunately, though,
there's always a
Miss
Scratch
Pauling
universe.
agreeing to go on a date with him at the end might be the highlight of Scout's entire life. He's got major unresolved issues surrounding his dad, who just vanished into thin air, and either has a very poor education or no education at all. He can't read. Looking at a book doesn't count as reading it. He's also oddly clingy when it comes to his relationships. It's probably because his dad abandoned him, but when competitive mode got added to the game, Scout got voice lines that made him sound incredibly needy.
Hey, I'll say it. Everybody else here's too scared to say it, but I'll just say what everybody's thinking. We're all best friends. We are all dear, dear friends. Birthday party at my place this weekend, by the way. Nobody showed up last weekend, so I figured, no big whoop, I just have it again. Go team, everybody! 6 train killers, am I right? Best of the best, and best friends. We don't say it a lot, or at all, but we're all feeling it here, in our hearts. You know? The friendship.
This, of course, goes for a majority of the cast, but Scout is also incredibly foul-mouthed. Some of them like to include a bit of flowery language or a nice bit of clever wordplay. But Scout is among the more...
I am owning you, you fat, bald, fatty, fat.
Blunt. Personality-wise, it's hard to say that Scout has much of a soft side. Financially as well, kind of in ruin. He's one of the only classes whose living arrangements can't even be speculated on, so it could be anywhere from the Red Team barracks, to an apartment, to a trailer park, to back at home. What he has in the bank is even worse.
I like how Spy put that and said demeanor, like as if he can read it.
Jones, and dumped all the money he has into 12 cubic yards of Tom Jones memorabilia.
Which is quite a lot.
Kinda odd to value your collection in perimeter, but far be it from me to judge. Comparing what's in the safe to its real-world equivalent, which is stupid, there's some expensive stuff in here, but not a lot of it. However, that's in our world, and in the TF2-niverse, Tom Jones is dead.
True.
It's bound to start shooting up in price sooner or later, but as for immediate funds for things like dates and presents and
would he ever sell it,
water, Scout's all but broke. So that all has to sound pretty negative. You may start thinking that dating a gun-toting psychopath might be a bad choice.
Aren't they all that, though?
There are a few things that you can levy in Scout's favor. The top of the list is that he has the mandate of heaven.
What do you mean?
God himself admits that he created Scout as his gift to all women, but this is just a dying delusion, right? Because why would God brag about having 3 foosball tables?
And a vending machine.
I don't really know if the Heavenly Father has space for a 4th foosball table.
I mean,
well,
foosball's so much
because in the same sequence, we can see Tom Jones is in heaven. And since Scout doesn't know that he's dead, that means that this is the actual, factual heaven.
Oh.
Tom Jones is then killed again.
In heaven.
So he is actually the
perfectly December 4th?
Man, and that does reflect on him being incredibly physically fit. He has one of the better physiques among the mercenaries, is more conventionally attractive, enjoys comic books that he can't read, is the first non-Brazilian to discover how to do not just a double, but triple jump. Really, Scout's not the worst.
Yeah, he's not the worst. Believe me, there's way worse.
The podium, but you could
he's not in the podium?
Scout. And it just so happens worse than Scout is who's next. Soldier! Oh, God, this is easy. So the Soldier,
it's not gonna be good. It's not gonna be good.
As far from a partner as you could ever hope to get. Soldier is incredibly paranoid all of the time. His
isn't he
has
also
not one,
like
but
lead poisoning?
2 fail-safes to kill anybody who approaches the front door with
Wait, what do you
either a
mean?
shotgun blast or neck snap. That home, by the way, is most likely abandoned, with soldiers squatting inside. Said insides are littered with nothing but survival tools, discarded fast food containers, and army surplus supplies.
Of course.
That's not his only home,
Merasmus.
though. He does eventually trade up in the world and
get a
start
castle.
bumming around someone else's house. That someone else
Is
is
Merasmus. It's
an
fine.
ancient wizard who's older than time and responsible for making Halloween a TF2 player's Christmas. His problems
Well,
don't
what
just
about
end
Smithmas?
at being paranoid, though. He's also incredibly quick to anger, has no sense of decency, and is jingoistic to the point of violence. Every single country on Earth is lesser than America in the soldier's eyes.
Yeah, that sounds
and
about right to him.
Probably makes him the most racist class. The fact that there's competition in that regard also should be a red flag, but you're already in too deep. At the same
who
time,
else is
though, he's
in that
really
category
one of the softer
of
characters
competition?
in terms of his insults. He can't really put into words what he hates about each country, more so that he just hates them
'Cause
for
they're not
being
American. Yeah.
American. Sure, he's pretty venomous to Demo Man, but that's just how friends talk.
You're
Well,
like
also
the
Merasmus.
Cyclops of Greek myth, except you are Scottish, and I hate you!
Don't let that fool you, though. He's gonna do detailed research on your ethnic background so he can accurately tell you which country to go back to. Also, if Scout has a poor education, a soldier
Has
is
negative.
actively forgetting things every day. This is the guy whose main innovative movement method involves impromptu double amputations.
Yeah.
Well, at least he found a way to do it safely.
Yeah,
The commie
I can
that
go.
invented gravity is gonna pay!
That said, I think he might actually be a more capable reader than Scout, since
He
he's
can
able to
read?
read and to determine the particulars of the Man Brothers' will after they're both killed.
Okay.
But what does the soldier have going for him? I know it's hard to resist a man who knows his
He's
P's
voiced by
from his
Rick May?
Q's, but what else does he have? Well, for starters, he's kind of a
I did
jack
nothing
of
but
all
teleport
trades.
bread for the last 3 days.
Literally, all trades. In a single comic, we find out that he's a priest, exorcist, and lawyer, on top of stints as a public defender, and
What?
the only job
How?
he's likely to keep after the first day, a park ranger. He's also a homeowner, or is at least just squatting in a much more legal fashion, as he stays in Merasmus's castle after it's turned into a raccoon sanctuary. One
That
of his
sounds awesome.
positives is
That
that he's
Phoenix
a
Wright.
lawyer. Do you have any idea how many lawyers are in hell? Soldier leads the pack immediately as the worst of the worst. There's no one in this entire ranking that is beating Soldier as the worst possible partner
Okay.
of all time.
Wait, is that true?
Is what I would say
Who
if it
else?
was not for one more thing.
Who?
He's not even an option.
Why is he not an
That's
option?
right, ladies. This prime cut of all-American beef is off the market.
Why?
In the TF2 comics,
Oh.
Soldier not only starts, but
We're ever gonna
maintains a
finish
relationship
the
with
comics?
one of Heavy's sisters, Zana. It's an extremely loving one, too. Soldier thinks the world of Zana, and in turn, Zana loves everything about the Soldier. They fight robots naked while covered in honey. That's something called true love.
It's
For
bonding.
as terrible as Soldier is as a potential partner, it can't be
He's
argued to begin
laughing.
with, as
The
he's
bread.
taken. Pyro is next, and don't worry, I'll avoid getting things mixed up. So Pyro's
Pyro.
everything is kind of a mystery. We
know
know that
nothing
he was
about
recruited
Pyro.
into the Gravel Wars by Saxton Hale, but
Of course.
what he could have that she could possibly want is unknown. All he seems to be concerned with is her fire, and he's doing his best to spread the good word. That's because Pyro isn't really functioning on the same level as the rest of us.
Yeah, because he
Pyro
sees fire
sees
as
the
happiness.
world in Pyrovision, which leaves her seeing the world as a technicolored
All the
fantasy
pronouns.
where
We
fire
have
is
no
a
idea what
stand-in
Pyro
for
even
rainbows.
is.
That means if we really want to try and extrapolate this out, that's A positive. He wants to spread as much happiness as possible, and it just so happens to be by coating the world in as much fire as
Yeah.
possible. However, it doesn't really matter so much what they think they're doing as
What they're actually doing. That's
doing.
true.
Pyro is by far the most brutal class out of the entire lineup. With Meet the
It's
Pyro
also the-
throwing in the
Pyro is the
Pyro
least
bits
human,
to
maybe?
try and distract you from how horrible what she's actually doing is. He has the entire rest of the team terrified, and these are hardened soldiers. Heavy is more than happy to recount a long and arduous torture of an engineer as the funniest story he knows. But Pyro,
Yeah.
Now they're fucked, man. The saddest part is, though, that she needs fire to be happy. In the comics,
really?
Pyro is seen in a life without
fire.
fire.
Isn't Pyro like a
miserable.
CEO or something?
The happiness and color of Pyroland is replaced with boring gray blocks and mumbled gibberish. It's not until Soldier and Miss Pauling start a 5-alarm fire on the skyscraper next to her that he springs back to life and is finally ready to start getting back into the
fire.
swing of
Dude,
things.
try candles.
The swing of things. However, without the fire, Pyro also proves to be a phenomenal business creature. She ends up leading an engineering company all the way to their highest earning quarter in history.
Somehow.
And he's knowledgeable to some degree about craftsmanship. Lots of Pyro's weapons are homemade, including a lion's
which is a war crime.
Flamethrowers and melee weapons. Yeah, he invented a new weapon by yanking her neighbor's mailbox out of the ground. But the biggest thing holding back Pyro from potential partner status is the pyromania, the suit, the indeterminate species. Yeah, that stuff too. But the big one is this one scene in the office building is the most that the Pyro gets across all the comics put together. Pyro is incredibly underdeveloped as far as the mercenaries go, which makes sense when their most memorable quote is but compared to someone like Heavy or Demo or Sniper,
fully fledged out characters with
you're
backstories,
only left with the really bad stuff and none of the humanizing stuff that the other ones get. Pyro isn't even on the dating radar. Unlike Soldier, who at least has potential homes, and Scout, who we can throw darts in the direction of a guess of, Pyro's probably just wandering the American Southwest, setting things on fire, and then walking away. Miss Pauling talks to Pyro during contracts like she's a child. You can send Pyro a Valentine's Day card, but all he's gonna do with it is use it as kindling. It's gonna be so much fun at TGI Fridays, but as soon as someone lights the candles on a birthday cake, the police will just have your teeth to identify you by. Next up is Demo Man.
Which, I mean, doesn't he own the Groot Keep?
Loaded out the ears. Easily the most successful of the mercs, Demo Man is pulling in $5 million a year across 3 different jobs. We know demolitions is one of them, and you can probably say that legal demolition is the other, but what's the third one?
What is the other?
Maybe you don't need to know everything. This allows him to own a mansion for himself, his mother, and his possessed headhunting claymore. Living arrangements can be complicated. He's also on the more put-together end of the spectrum of the mercs, seeing as he's able to hold down all those jobs on top of taking care of his mother and killing people. Demo Man is on the Pyro side of the innate danger spectrum, though. Just like Soldier, and to a lesser, much more coping extent Pyro, Demo has discovered that walking is a small price to pay for jumping. If his choice of interview locale and meet the Demo Man is that Jump
Academy? God, I do not miss
few rooms in his
the videos I made on Jump Academy.
Explosives, so open the wrong door and
kaboom! God, I was watching like there was Lethal Company video. Somebody put a landmine on the other side of the door.
Being a more general buzzkill, it does start to lead into more of the problems with Demo Man. He has a very complicated upbringing, probably among the worst that we know of. Demo Man spent a lot of his childhood in an orphanage before being adopted by his blood parents, since they needed to wait to see if his demolitions expertise would manifest. After that,
that's what they waited for?
Into reading its dark
and there went his eye.
Which resulted in him losing an eye and creating Monoculus, which attacks Demo and the other mercenaries every Halloween. Demo Man is very linked to magic, weirdly, with the
the Claymore talks to him.
As well as the Eyelander, which is, again, a possessed sword that hungers to turn necks into vacant lots. And as well, we find out in the comics that the Abominomicon and Monoculus have permanently cursed the Demo Man's left eye socket, so that if he ever tries to fill the void, he'll get another Monoculus. All of this has manifested itself into an intense self-loathing in the Demo Man, which comes out when he's drunk enough, which paints him as somebody who is incredibly embarrassed by his very existence. He does not sound happy to be a black Scottish Cyclops. On that topic, Demo Man's a drunk. I'd say a drunken wreck, but really it's only a problem when he runs out. Not that he gets violent or anything. No, that's gonna happen, Scrumpy or not. What I mean is that in the TF2 comics, after not getting
His
any
blood
booze and having to
or
drink
water is
for a couple
actually
of hours,
alcohol.
Demo's body goes into a full-on shutdown.
Yep.
You might be hearing all these negatives and think, this is one of the good ones?
Mm-hmm.
You know who we're talking about, right? Demo Man has certainly poisoned himself with booze
Life
beyond
and party,
repair,
though.
and attracts magic to himself like golf balls attract clubs. But he is on the good end of the spectrum. What that says about the spectrum itself is up for you to decide. If you want someone who seems
Heavy,
to leapfrog the
who
spectrum
has a master's
altogether,
degree in
though,
Russian, I want to
that
say?
honor belongs to Heavy.
Coins.
Yes, TF2's mascot seems to have had special care given to show him as the most least crazy person on the team. Now, in all
I mean, he
fairness,
can cook.
Heavy has the deck stacked in his favor. Literally, he's got a deck, and everybody else is just scrapping for loose free roam cards. Heavy was one of the 4 characters picked to be in the first Poker Night at the Inventory game made by
What
Telltale.
is this?
Seemingly out of a
I've
hat,
never played-
or by which employee
Well,
could
actually,
say
no, I
name
have
the
played Telltale
fastest.
game. It was 7
Heavy
Days to
in
Die
this
on
game
Xbox.
has more characterization than pretty much any other merc. Some of which is vital lore that you'd find out first in this game before it appeared in any official
just
Valve
talk to each
material.
other?
Heavy is a very learned man, studying for years to get a degree in Russian literature.
Yeah.
He can read! Moreover,
That's-
he enjoys
that's the
fine
impressive
arts,
part
like the
compared to the
music
other ones.
of Huey Lewis and the
I don't know
News,
who all
and
these other
movies
things are.
like The Dirty Dozen and Rocky IV. Don't try and watch past the first fight. He calls that a feel-good ending. That doesn't mean there isn't a lot of pain behind those big muscles. He spent a lot of his young life in a Russian gulag with his sisters and mother after they were sent there for his father's counter-revolutionary actions during the Russian Civil War of 1917. Around 1940 to 1941, him and his family, Sans dad, were forced to live in a gulag
Wait,
for 3
Sans
months until
dad?
it
What?
burned to
Sans,
the
like
ground, all the
Undertale?
prisoners escaped, and the guards were murdered in grisly ways. Heavy really likes talking about this.
Oh.
From there, his family went to live in a mountain range in eastern Siberia where they would live in fear for years.
And then we run into
Majority
them in
of
the
Heavy's
comics.
salary going back to them so they could afford to live and stay hidden so the people that put them in the gulag in the first
Won't
place
find them.
wouldn't come back. The Heavy as well seems to abhor senseless violence. When the other people at the poker table ask to hear a story of his with it, he tells a story about holding a dying bird in his hands after
Aww.
another boy killed it with a knife for
Why?
no reason. Despite the stereotype, Heavy isn't stupid. He's more so quiet and introspective. He has nightmares of medics he failed to protect, has a fear of ghosts probably stemming from all the people he's killed, and often
Or has
thinks about
seen
the families he's left without a father.
Wow.
And then he tells that goddamn Engie story. Yep, for all that kindness and gentle nature, he's still part of a team brought together because of how unstable they are.
Yeah.
He may not like senseless violence, but when he's revving up that minigun,
Hey.
baby, it all makes sense. He takes a lot of enjoyment in fighting, stemming from being forced to learn how to box as a young boy. This may have developed into an unhealthy bond with his weaponry.
It also
Now,
helps
of
that he
course it's
kind of
important
won
to feel
the genetic
comfortable
lottery
using
and being
gun on
a
the
massive
battlefield and to
beast.
upkeep it properly, but he's
Absolute
an overprotective
unit.
father for a minigun. Then when he gets a new one, he gives it a lady's name. A redder flag couldn't exist.
Yeah, it's fine.
Imagine having to
Actually, I
compete
don't
with
think
a
I've
guy's
named any of my
affection when
guns.
Your competition is a gun. Now imagine if it wasn't even a contest. Then there are the more vain aspects, like since how Heavy sends back the money that he earns to his family, he's probably not very wealthy and would live in a very
maybe he has a
utilitarian
lot.
sort of lifestyle. Just keep exactly as much as he needs to survive and
Oh.
not a cent more. Even with
Wow.
that, though, it's hard to say that Heavy still isn't the best option by far. Just don't mention Engie.
He
Next
might
up
be.
is Engie.
Oh,
Building
no.
cheese.
Of all of his constituents, he's among
Hey,
the
what's
most
wrong-
successful.
yeah, I'm about to say, what's wrong with
Sure,
Dell?
He doesn't make Demo Man money, but he managed to invent turrets, dispensers, teleportation.
Are they called turrets or are they
as well as
sentries? I
improve
call them
on his
turrets so
old
people get
family
mad.
Recipe. Immortality machines. Those immortality machines have led him and his family to work for the Mann brothers and administrator for years, and that's likely to come with a healthy pay bonus.
Oh, I'm
and
sure.
he can do all this thanks to his whopping 11 PhDs in hard science. Without a
How
doubt,
do you even
he
do that?
eclipses the rest of his team in terms of intellect, and
Yeah.
has 11 more PhDs than the team's doctor. That doesn't mean he's a soft scientist,
Might actually be a
though.
better doctor.
On top of building and designing all of his own machinery, he spent 10 years as a roughneck on Texan oil fields. As well,
Pretty
he's
tough.
a southern gentleman. While he may smack-talk his enemies like the rest of the team, there are only a few from NG that come off as especially mean. Strangely, the most hateful ones are all directed towards Heavy.
Why?
I'd hold back if I were him.
Oh,
Among
because
the
of
team,
that,
he's
yeah.
also the most
The NG
personable,
story.
seeming to be on good terms with just about everyone.
Well, they need 'em.
Sure, spies are a sticking point, but for Spy, the sticking point is his back. When you manage to make friends with Pyro and Medic, you're either very charismatic or a baboon on fire. In
Or
fact,
very useful.
despite being friends with a team of maniacs, it's hard to tell why NG's even lumped in with the rest of them. On a team with 8 other lunatics, NG feels kind of out of place. He's not much one for killing, kinda why he built the robots to do it.
True.
Oh, sure, the rogue battle
I mean, he has a
engine
shotgun,
dropped in with
as Lace
Widowmaker
Purple would
and
say.
Gunslinger to make you wonder, I thought Scout was a lot faster than this. But those are their own breed entirely. Yes, sir, NG's about as safe a pick as you can get.
Really?
And does that work against him? I don't know.
I don't know,
feel
is that
like if
red
you're
flag?
setting out to date a mercenary, you want a bit of danger, a bit of
Nah,
mystery. Just the slight chance of dying from a random explosion going off.
That
And
sounds
if
like
out of
Demo
that
Man.
crop, you pick the one guy with
The comments on this video
stability?
have to be hilarious.
Well, then why did you show up in the first place? Besides, NG has the problem of being just a touch
Do not build it.
bland. Oh, he's safe. Sure, he's stoic, loves barbecue, and plays the guitar. But a man who has spent more of his adult life behind a level 3 sentry than he has talking to other people is
Is-
gonna want a nice, simple, safe life. So
Yeah.
go for NG if you want to play it safe.
Who's
but
left?
If you're playing it safe,
Medic,
what are you even doing
Sniper,
here? Now here's
there's
a
Medic,
guy where safe is
Mr.
the
Ludwig.
last word that comes to mind.
Zoology?
Aside from where does he keep all of his exotic animal parts? Medic is a proud doctor.
Nope, not that.
Okay, already wrong. Medic's status as an actual doctor has been up for debate for a long time. Some pieces of info say he is one, others say he had his medical license and then lost it, and some say he was never one to begin with.
He
I
just
think
wanted
the
to be
meet
one?
The Medic explanation where he used to be a licensed doctor is the best one.
Probably.
It fits his whole affront to God style he takes with his surgeries. Speaking of which, is Medic a Nazi?
That's a
No.
question.
It's not funny if he's a Nazi. What he is, though, is
crazy.
a sadistic, sociopathic human butcher with a tendency to ignore any sense of morality,
Like
medical
Archimedes.
obligation, or human decency to further his research. So I get the confusion.
Drops it and don't gotta connect that or
Medic is
anything.
racing down to be an even worse choice than Pyro. At
Oh,
the
we
very
also have
least,
Spy.
Pyro
Spy and
doesn't
Sniper are
know
left,
she's doing
I
bad,
think.
even if he's torching an orphanage as we speak. Medic got all the kids out of the orphanage, but only to discover if being an orphan was somehow hereditary. If you look at what Medic's done to his own teammates, it should be abundantly clear why you shouldn't let this guy know where you live. He likes
That's fair.
the Heavy and not only blew up his heart and replaced it with the Loch Ness monsters, but
I thought it was a
broke
mega
one of his
baboon.
ribs and told him to, get over it.
Yeah, it'd be
the
fine.
classic mercs he teams up with in the comics end up almost getting uteruses put into them. Luckily,
Baboons.
he just sewed 3 into one guy, which seems to have placated him for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's only a few panels later he admits to considering the classic and TF2 mercs to be more experiments over comrades,
Yeah.
which extends way further than the physical
The
damage
Team
he's
Fortress
done to them.
Classic.
Oh, sure, you can chalk up the scooping he's done of Demo's brain, the
He does
bird
what?
stuck inside Scout's chest. Really, just think of a problem with the mercs and then flip a coin. Heads, they were born that way.
Tails, it was Medic.
Did it. All of this, of course, made him a first ballot pick for hell. It's while he's in hell that he reveals that he medically grafted the other mercs' souls to his own to make sure the devil didn't have a controlling share.
Yeah, that's...
He booted Satan off the board of directors of his soul. He then
That
sold
is
one of
so
those souls
funny,
to Satan.
but he
for
puts
a
it that way.
Medic is undoubtedly the worst of the worst when it comes to options for partners.
Is he?
Pyro at least has innocence working for him. There's
Medic does
only
not.
one thing Medic has going for them. And I'll be honest,
What is it?
might be enough. Confidence. Medic totally
Confidence?
believes everything he says. they at least have the sense to be delightfully insane.
And know
You're
it.
gonna get at least a nervous chuckle in as he explains how he's gonna replace your lungs with a Doberman's, so you'll literally have that dog in you. He'll be great to have as a friend to hear about what he's up to next, but as someone with working knowledge of your sleep schedule, absolutely not.
No.
How much does Sniper piss?
A lot.
So, this experiment is based entirely around this scene from Meet the Sniper.
Is
in terms of
what?
canonical
Do
material,
we know how long
this
it takes?
is the best showcase of Sniper's pissing potential. We know
Why
from
are
the
we
Girardi
doing
ad
that?
comic that Sniper takes special pills that have enlarged his kidneys to 3 times the size
Why?
they normally are,
But
and
for
that he
what
regularly
purpose?
suffers from organ failure. It is
What do you mean
so
regularly?
sexy how your appendix exploded. So Sniper made the crucial error in this scene of leaving a clock on the wall in the background that makes this very, very easy. His day
Literally
starts
makes
at
it
4
easy.
a.m. and we get to
And he just
observe
sits
him
there.
up until 7:15 a.m. when he takes his first shot. Unrealistic, as a Sniper main would have missed hundreds of shots in that time.
Well, but he
Within
didn't
the
miss.
first 20 minutes of waiting, he already has to pee, and pisses around a fourth of a mason jar worth of piss.
But mason jars are
Then,
different sizes.
20 minutes later, at 4:40, he rounds
Another
it out
amount.
to a nice third. It takes until 5:30 for the next piss break to get the jar up halfway, but then around 5:45, he's not only topped up the first one, but gotten to work
still-
on a new jar. Before 6 o'clock, he's already topped that one off to the very rim and has gotten to work on a new one. And by the time he finally takes the shot at 7:15, he has
He's-
stopped to pee 8 times and has filled 3.5
That's a
mason
lot.
jars with his
Dude
own
can't
piss.
get through a movie.
And not all pisses
You can't
are
have movie
created
night with him.
equal. The first time he pisses, he barely has any fluid in him, and makes it about a fourth of the way up the mason jar. Piss number 8, though, manages to fill up an entire mason jar on its own. But this doesn't really illustrate the point very well. We're gonna need to find a way to find the dimensions of a mason jar.
I mean,
by bringing this into Photoshop,
are we
making a
counting
line
pixels?
Here, a line here, another line here, a few more squiggly lines up here,
And-
that's Goku. That's not gonna help us, so you have to buy a real mason jar.
like-
This is the average mason jar, used
Yeah?
for preserving, pickling, and the most unholy battlefield tactic known to man. These mason jars helpfully denote how much volume they have,
So-
filling 3 cups up to the fill line. With the 3 filled mason jars, as well as the halfway filled one, accounting for
cat.
any less than filled
I don't
ones
know where my
among
cat is,
the
probably
bunch,
asleep.
it's safe to say that Sniper pissed 10 cups worth of piss in a little over 3 hours. In case you can't visualize that,
That's all of that?
fill her up, please. That's all off a single pot of coffee, too. On average, making 10 cups of coffee or 60 fluid ounces.
And he turned it
Sniper
all
managed to take
into-
60 ounces and turn it into 80 with 10 cups of piss.
That's
so
impressive.
he managed to break the law of equivalent exchange with his kidneys.
You shouldn't do that.
Impressive. So if you divide
There's a
out
whole
the
anime
time,
about it,
Sniper
don't do
takes
it.
8 piss breaks over the course of 180 minutes, which comes out to a piss break every 20 minutes. Sounds absurd.
Yeah,
What
how are you
do
gonna get
think
to a
the
movie?
recharge time on the Girardi in-game is? 20 seconds. Now, let's say we
Oh.
take the average of each piss break, and say that across the 8 piss breaks, Sniper pees the average of 10 fluid ounces worth of piss. On the very, very high end of the spectrum, the average man pisses 13 fluid ounces every 4 hours.
Oh.
That means that Sniper is pissing the same amount of a
Why
man
are we
who
doing
has
the
to
math on
piss
this?
like a racehorse every 20 minutes. I tell you all this to say that any other trait the man has does
Is-
not matter when
because
he has
that's
to
the most
take
important.
a long piss every 20 minutes. At any given movie, he's getting
Imagine
up
a
around
road
5
trip.
times
I
to
guess-
drain his
yeah.
dingo. What on earth could make you stick around for that?
I-
And he's not modest about it. He pisses in jars mid-combat. A fact he is very proud of, declaring himself a yellow belt master of Girardi.
Of course.
He has a jar of piss on him at all times on his backpack. The camper van that is his home no doubt stinks of piss that he's gone nose-blind to. And if you think he's stopping the car that is his house to piss, you know he has built an apparatus. It doesn't matter if he's one of the more conventionally attractive mercs, there's just
No,
too
there's
much
no
piss.
redeeming quality from
and
that.
if that wasn't
I guess
enough, he's not even
is
Australian.
last gonna be Spy?
Finally is
the
Benji
spy.
again.
Huh?
Listen, you're just a bit bland for me. You're not even wearing a funny hat this time, so why don't you just...
Spy.
Giddy up now?
Yeah.
To hell!
Oh, right, France. Spy is our last eligible bachelor, and what a perfect way
Is he
to
the
end
best?
things out.
Is he number one?
Like father, like son, Spy is also a character with a lot of romance baked into his DNA.
I mean, he did teach
He's
Scout.
the mentor for Scout in Expiration Date, trying to help Scout as much as he can, despite the former's inability to learn. And
Quite
unlike
literally.
Scout, Spy provides evidence that he has experience on the matter. Yes,
What's Scout's
Spy
mother?
has indeed bedded Scout's mom, but it's safe to say that it's not a committed relationship. Need proof? Go back to the first entry. That isn't to say he's a user of women. He is, but he does look back on his time with Scout's mom fondly. He even
Thought I
gave
felt
her
my
a
cat.
little pet
That's my
name.
foot.
If someone called me their little cauliflower, fuck it, I'd find a way to have their baby. He's also
What?
a man of exquisite taste.
I mean, he can dance.
Loving fine food
Also
and
French.
$1,000 suits. This is a man wearing a $10,000 jacket into a job where hazards include bullets. He's also fleshed out a
$10,000
lot in the
jacket is
comics.
insane.
He's a very reserved man, finding the rest of the team rather annoying, Scout especially. Despite that, he does pull his weight and goes along with whatever's required of him.
Dude,
He's
the
merciful
comics
to
are-
Miss Pauling when they
Dude,
get captured
it's a
by
hype
the
if they
classic
ever
mercs,
come out
and
with the
even offers
comics.
to split a cyanide
Which I don't
tablet
think
with
would
her.
happen.
He's also strangely one of the only people that refers to certain mercs by
What?
their real names rather than their class. So that implies some level of fondness.
I think they said the
However,
person that wrote the
fondness
comics
does not extend to the
is no longer
battlefield.
working
Spy
with Valve or
is
something like
totally
that? I don't know.
ruthless with his put-downs of the other classes. He has no filter and is extremely personal when he sees an opening. He also has a massive ego issue, finding
he has
himself
confidence.
so far above the rest of the mercs that the only way he agrees to help out Scout is if he announces as such to everybody else. And as mentioned before, Spy has a tendency to vanish. Spy is another simple
You can't trust him,
class.
I guess.
What you see is what you get. He's dignified, well put together, respectful, but also so high off his own fumes that air would probably be like poison to him.
Is this a transition?
So that's all the mercs laid bare.
So,
Their
who's the
dateability
winner?
Explained, but it's time to put it into plain English. Who's the best and who's the worst? Starting in reverse order.
Reverse
and
order's still the
best
worst.
merc boyfriend is Heavy. The
Okay, so
perfect
Heavy is
balance
first.
of responsibility, stability, and security. Heavy would make the perfect partner for anybody looking for a big.
Do you
strong
agree or
bear.
disagree?
Just make peace that you're never ever gonna beat the gun. After him is NG. Like I said, NG's plain. NG is room temperature water. It's fine.
Compared to the
It's
rest,
safe,
though?
You need it, but if you have the option of anything else, you'd go with it. He'll take you to Texas Roadhouse on dates so many times your head will spin. And
I've still
having a
never had the
sentry
rolls.
in the room while you boink is gonna really kill the mood. But he's not gonna kill you. Next is Spy.
Spy who might.
The obvious allure of a man of mystery is strong, but he also has the capabilities to be a real lover. He'll treat you right, but as soon
Can
as
he
you
commit,
start
though?
revealing any of your flaws, he'll be certain to keep a mental list of insulting nicknames.
Uh-huh.
After a substantial power gap, like realistically, number 4 should be the sentry gun or
The sandwich. Yep.
A distant next entry is Scout. Scout makes it this high as he's the last merc without a major psychological
yeah,
hiccup that
he's-
keeps him from functioning in life, let alone in a relationship. Scout is
I'm
cocky
guessing
and
Soldier's gonna be
brash,
last because he's
incapable
taken.
of an honest conversation that doesn't end with him talking about how big his arms are, but he's got his own charm about him. Some people will find his brand of confidence enticing. These people are strange, but to each their own. Okay, another huge power gap. Maybe you shouldn't date these people. Was that the message I was supposed to learn?
Yeah.
Anyway, Demo Man comes next, and I don't know if you can enjoy him for the few hours a day he's lucid. You can probably get some enjoyment out of the relationship.
fun.
But this is someone who is in constant negotiation with his own organs to not give up on him. He's going through a lot right now.
Always.
Next up is Sniper. Piss. Next up is Soldier.
Taken.
All right.
And
that
then
leaves
you
just
have
2, and
Medic and
now's
Pyro.
not the time to act like you can't guess. Second worst is Pyro, and worst is Medic.
Makes sense.
Now, intent matters a lot. It's the difference between manslaughter and murder. Both are extremely passionate about their feelings
But
of murder, but if I had to pick between
one
getting those
knowingly does it.
things on a giraffe's head sewn onto mine to see if they give a giraffe psychic powers and getting set on fire, baby, I got the gasoline, let's light it up.
Go for it. Oh. It has to get in the video? Okay. Is there anything at the end? Oh no, it's just a song, I guess? Or is he gonna talk? I guess that's it. Okay, next up, Pokepets 2. Oh god, that people did that, but that's like an hour-long video. I just recorded a 2-hour-long video last night. I just recorded like a 50-minute-long video before this, and this was a 38-minute-long video. But people were talking about it. It's Team Fortress 2. I love Bubble McFumble's videos. I'm glad he hit 100,000 subscribers. He definitely deserves even more than that. The fact that it's got 134,000 views in 7 days is awesome. He's probably gonna do more TF2 content because it does well, but I'm not sure what the next category is going to be because this one is really off the wall. But I look forward to the next video. I look forward to reading your comments because I read every single one of them, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope I made it just tiny little bit better. But until next video, take care and keep the music.
We were playing as soldiers, making swords.